Hey, what's up everybody? Clifton here, Clifton WP. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, you're going to learn how to build a local business website from scratch using the Kadence theme and Kadence blocks. Now, this is a follow-up from my prior video where I showed you my initial local business website stack, where we installed WordPress, the Kadence theme, the Kadence blocks, the all-in-one migration plugin, and we did it all on a Cloudways server. I want to take this time to go ahead and thank Cloudways because Cloudways is also sponsoring this video, and we're going to be taking a look at the dashboard again and taking a look at setting up an application on your own server and then building out your local business website directly from there. Today's video is going to focus on building out the homepage. We're going to focus on it in detail. We're going to go through every single section from the hero section all the way to the call to action, header, and footer. So if you guys are ready to learn how to build a local business website from scratch, going step by step with no steps skipped, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at what we're going to be building. So this is the home page for the local business website that we are going to be creating. Now, the home page is the most important page. It kind of serves as the landing page for that business. So it's important that it has certain elements. You want to make sure you have a high converting header that has a nice call to action and navigation. You want to have a hero section that properly identifies what the business does, and it has to have certain elements. In this case, I'm going to show you how to create this badge that immediately tells the site visitor what they can expect, and then how to create this dual call to action. And then we'll talk about the different sections, such as the benefits section, the services section, the how you help and any process sections, your testimonial section, and then your call to action, and the footer where you have additional resource links. And we're going to be building every single thing you see here, starting from the header all the way down to the footer, and we'll do everything in detail. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so there are essentially 4 steps we'll have to take in order for us to go ahead and set up the foundation for our local business website. The first one is going to be hosting. So we're going to choose a hosting provider for our site. Then we'll install WordPress. Then we'll install our theme, and we will install plugins. So when it comes to a hosting environment, my typical choice is always going to be Cloudways. And this is because Cloudways gives you a more powerful and flexible alternative to shared hosting. When it comes to shared hosting, your site is packed onto a server with lots of other websites, which can mean slower speeds, less stability, and more limitations. Also, if there's any issue with any of the other website on that shared host, those issues could impact your own website. And when it comes to a local business website, you typically don't want any kind of issues impacting its speed or its performance, because that's usually critical to things like search engine optimization and website optimization. The beautiful thing about Cloudways is that Cloudways gives you managed cloud hosting on one of 5 of best-in-class cloud hosting servers. So that could be DigitalOcean, Linode, Vultr, AWS, or Google Cloud, which typically have better resources and also are not shared hosts. So you're in your own hosting environment on your own server, and they do it in such a way that you can actually manage it without having to be extremely technologically inclined. So you also get major advantages like pay-as-you-go pricing, the ability to host unlimited apps on a server, strong support, and room to grow without the typical visit-based caps many WordPress hosts use. Setting up your hosting with Cloudways is actually very easy to do, and I want to take this time to thank Cloudways for sponsoring this video. I'm going to show you exactly how I set up my server with Cloudways before loading up my WordPress website to build out a local business website, and you can basically do the same thing. If you don't have a Cloudways account, I highly recommend you get one. You can use the affiliate link in the description below. That link will give you a 30% discount on your Cloudways plan, and if you do that, that will also generate a commission for the channel, and I want to thank you in advance for your support. Okay, so let's take a look at what this looks like. So when you get started with Cloudways, you have 2 options. The option that I select is the Cloudways Flexible because of the type of website that I'm building. Okay, flexible means that you can basically build out a website where you're not going to have a large ton of traffic. You're not expecting that. You're not expecting traffic spikes, which is going to be most websites. Now, if you're building a learning management system, or you're building a membership website, or a website where you plan on having thousands of concurrent users, or e-commerce site where you have plans to have thousands of concurrent users, then you want to go with Cloudways Autonomous. And that basically allows you to be able to scale and handle large amounts of traffic. But the Cloudways Flexible is plenty for what we need. Then below here, you're going to select your cloud provider. So there's DigitalOcean, Vultr, Linode, AWS, and Google Cloud. I always use Vultr. That's my preferred server that I like to use because I find it to be very quick and very easy to use. Then the server type is typically high frequency. Okay. And once you've selected that, you can kind of see what your pricing will look like. So here's $16 per month. You're basically paying about 2 cents per hour. And then these are all the setup that you will have. Okay. And then when you click on the start free, it takes you to an area where you can go ahead and set up your account. Now, let me show you what the dashboard actually looks like after you've set up your account. Now that we're in the dashboard, we're going to go ahead and install WordPress on our Cloudways server. So to do that, we're going to navigate over to the menu on the left-hand side here where it says Flexible. I'm going to click on My Applications. And then from here, just click on Add Application. We're going to select our server. Click on Add Application. And from the drop-down here, we're going to select the Optimized WordPress option. We're going to label our install. Let's just call it Local Business. Select the Hybrid Stack and click on Add Application. We're going to skip the installation of these plugins because we don't need them. And then it's going to go ahead and install our WordPress application on our server. Okay, so now our WordPress install has completed. And if we click on Applications here, and this is where you'll see all your WordPress websites, this is the one we just installed, the Local Business. So if we click on this, you'll see the management area for that WordPress install on your server. Here we have the WordPress URL. We have the WordPress login URL, your username, and your password. So if you click on this here, it'll take you to the WordPress install, and you'll see that we have here the default 2025 WordPress theme. Okay, if we go back, this is the URL to log in, this username, and this is the password. Okay, so let's go ahead and log into our WordPress install. So I'm going to click here, enter your username and your password. And that'll bring us to the dashboard where we can go ahead and install our WordPress theme and our WordPress plugins to go ahead and start building our local business website. Okay, so before we install our theme and plugins, let's go ahead and just set up our install for building out a local business website. To do that, we're going to start at the settings. So we're going to come over to your settings, click on General. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add the name of our business to the site title field here. Okay, so let's go ahead and delete this default title and add the name of our business, which is Clifton Fire Recovery. Okay, so Clifton Fire Recovery is a fire, smoke, and water damage restoration company. So we're going to use that as our tagline. So we'll say fire, smoke, and water damage restoration. Next, we're going to go ahead and set our time zone. Make sure that it's set to Pacific time for me, or set it up to whatever your time zone is going to be. In my case, it's going to be Los Angeles. And then we're done. Let's go ahead and click on Save Changes. Next, what we need to do is go ahead and install our theme. So to do that, we're going to go to Appearance, Themes, click on Add Theme. And the theme we're going to be installing is the Kadence theme. Now, you'll see it here in the repository. It's a pretty popular theme, and it's one of the best themes to use in building out a local business website. If you don't see it, just go ahead and come over here to the search bar and do a search for Kadence, and you'll see the Kadence theme here. Click on Install and Activate. Okay, so now we have our theme installed. Next, let's go ahead and install our plugins. So we're going to come over here to the left, go to Plugins, click on Add Plugin. And the first plugin I'm going to install is the Kadence Blocks plugin. Now, the Kadence Blocks plugin is a page building plugin that uses Kadence Gutenberg blocks to build out your pages. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a search for Kadence. You'll see the Kadence Blocks plugin here. Click on Install and Activate. So we now have our page building plugin installed, and we also have our theme installed as well. Okay, so if we visit the front end of the website, we should now see the Kadence theme and then whatever our latest posts are. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install some additional plugins that we need to be able to build out our local business website. So to do that, we're going to go back to the dashboard, go to plugins, click on add plugin. And the first one I like to install is a backup plugin. So we'll install the all-in-one migration plugin. Okay, that's this one right here. Click on install now and activate. And then the next plugin I'm going to install, so click on add plugins. The next plugin is going to be the advanced custom fields plugin. It's this one here. Click on install now and activate. The advanced custom fields is going to allow us to create custom fields and custom post types for our local business website. We're going to use this to create our service pages or location pages or even review and testimonial pages, and separate that from our posts, our regular default posts and default pages that come with the WordPress install. And this is pretty much the base of all the plugins that I need to build out a local business website. Everything else that I need is contained inside of the Kadence Blocks or the Kadence Theme. Okay, now one more thing that I like to do is, if you notice, if you visit the front end of the website, you will see here that it is showing our latest post, and it's showing this default hello world post. What I want it to actually show is to show a home page. And then I also want to set this up so that any pages that I create is already prepared for page building. Okay, so to do that, let's go back to the dashboard and we're going to go to pages and we're going to click on add page. From here, I'm going to title this page home page and we'll publish this. And now let's go back. And this time I'm going to navigate to settings. I'm going to navigate to reading, and I'm going to change the reading settings where it says your home page displays. I'm going to change that from your latest post to a static page. And then under the home page setting here, I'm going to select the home page that we just created. We'll click on save changes. So now when we visit the home page or visit the website, you'll see here that we have a home page showing instead of that default blog post. Okay. Now what I want to do is I want to customize my pages in the Kadence theme options to always be ready for page building. So right now, this isn't ready for page building. This is kind of a box layout. I want to make sure that I have a full canvas whenever I'm building out a page, because I build all my pages and build all my sites from scratch. So to do that, from here, just navigate to the admin toolbar, click on the customizer or the customize link. That's going to bring you to the Kadence theme options. From here, I'm going to select the post page layouts option, and I'm going to select the page layout. And then I'm going to start configuring this. So under the general tab, the first thing I want to do is I want to turn off or toggle off the show page title. And then under the default page layout, by default, I want all my pages to always be full width. That's going to make the pages go end to end of the screen. Okay. Then next here, the content style is set to box, which means that the content by default is going to be centered in the page. I don't want that. I actually want it to be unboxed so that I have the full use of the full width of the screen when building out my pages. And that way I can set up my own custom widths. And then under the content vertical spacing, by default, the Kadence theme pages and posts have a padding on the top and the bottom between the header and the footer. I want to go ahead and disable that. This way I can set up my own padding when I'm building out my pages. So let's go ahead and disable that. That'll give me full control and full access to the entire canvas. Okay. Now that I'm done with these settings, I'm going to go ahead and click on publish. And now when we look at the home page, we should have a nice blank canvas. Okay. All right. The next thing that I want to do is I want to set up my colors and I want to set up my fonts. So to do that, we're going to go back to the customizer. We'll go to colors and fonts and we'll click on colors and we'll set up our colors. So right now this default color is a bluish color. We're going to change that and make it a reddish color. And to do that, I typically start with the accents. Okay, so let's come over here to this one. The accents here, this represents the buttons and links that are going to be on your page. I'm going to select the first one and we're just going to select a red color here. Okay, and then for the hover or the alternate accent color, we're going to go with that red again, but we'll make it a little bit lighter And then here for the contrast, so these are kind of a bluish gray hue. So if we select this first one, we can see here it's kind of a bluish, dark bluish gray. And what I want is I want it to be more in the darker side. So I'm just going to leave it on the same plane and just move that over here. Okay. So 27, 27, 27. Okay. And then here for the contrast, again, we're looking more at blues here. I'm going to move that over closer to the grays. All right. And then this one here, still blue. I want that closer to the gray. And then here is sort of a bluish gray. And I kind of want this to tilt more towards a light beigey color, but still dark. So I'm just going to move my color selector over to around the sort of the lightest brown, and let's go a little grayish there. And then my base colors are all going to be sort of based on that beige as well. So I'm going to select this base color here. I can see over here where it's selected, and all I need to do is just move this over to the oranges, a little bit orange. Okay, looks good. And then select this next blue one. And what I'm doing is I'm eliminating the blues and just putting everything here in the sort of orange beige plane here. And then this last color, which is our background color, I'm going to leave that as white. Okay, and I'm pretty much done with my colors at this point. All right, next I'm going to go back to the settings here. Under colors and fonts, I'm going to select my typography. And for the base font for my site, I'm going to select this, and I want the base font to be Inter, which is a great font for your text. And then the style, we're going to leave the style the same, but for the size, I want to reduce the size here. So this is 17 pixels. We're going to set this down to 16 pixels. Okay, all right, that looks good. Then for the heading font family, we're going to select Pop-ins for this one. So we'll just say Pop-ins. Nice thick header font. And then we'll leave everything else the same. All right, let's go ahead and click on Publish. All right, now when we start building out our site, all those colors will start showing up in the elements that we choose to build out the site. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start building out our site. And I like to build my site from top to bottom. So I build the header first, then the content areas, and then the footer. So let's go ahead and start with the header. So the first thing we want to do in the header is go ahead and place our logo and our navigation menu, and then any calls to action that we want in that header. So let's start with the logo. So from here, I'm going to navigate over to the customizer by going to the admin toolbar, click on customize. Then we're going to go to the header tab, and that's going to open up the header builder here for the Kadence theme. So on the bottom here, you'll see this tray. It has 3 rows for areas where you can go ahead and add your header elements. And then here on the left hand side, you have available items. So these are widgets that you can drag into the header to go ahead and build out your header. So we're going to be using this middle row, which is already currently in use. It's holding the current logo placeholder and then the primary navigation. So we're just going to keep that as is and just add our logo, and then we'll take care of the navigation a little bit later. So to add the logo, let's go ahead and click on the logo settings icon here. That's going to open up the logo for us in the customizer on the left hand side. Here we're going to click on select logo. I'm going to go ahead and upload the logo from my computer. And we have our logo. So here we're just going to label this the Clifton Fire Recovery logo. And also I'd like to add that as a description as well. And then go ahead and click on select. Okay. So we'll see here where it's trying to crop my logo. I'm going to ask it to go ahead and skip the cropping. That way I can customize it myself. And then we can see here that we have the logo in the header now. Okay. We also have the text for the website, name of the website here as well. So I don't want that because I already have text in my logo. So what I'm going to do is right in the next section for the logo settings, you'll see here the logo setting types. So we have the logo option, logo plus title, and then logo, title, and tagline. Right now it's set to logo and title. We're just going to change that to logo. All right, so here now we have our logo. Okay, next I can also move over here to the tablet version, see how that looks for us here on the tablet, and then we can even look on the mobile version and see how that looks. And you can see that it settles in quite nicely with the logo that we have here. Okay. All right. Next, what I like to do in this section as well is go ahead and set up my site icon. So that's an icon that's going to show up in the tab in the browser. So let's go ahead and click on site icon here. We're going to select the site icon. And then I'm going to go ahead and upload that from my computer as well. I have it right here. Okay, so we'll call this the Clifton Fire Recovery Favicon. And I'm also going to add that as a description as well. Click on select. All right, we see that now that's now added, and that'll show up in the tab just like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and publish this and exit the customizer. And we can see here now that we now have our logo. Next, let's go ahead and add our navigation. So for our navigation, we're going to want a home page, an about page, services, maybe reviews and frequently asked questions page, and then a contact us page. So let's go ahead and create those. And the way I do this is I actually just create the pages themselves and then go ahead and create a menu. So let's create those pages. So from here, I'm going to navigate over to the new link here in the admin toolbar. I'm going to click on page. It's going to take me to the page creating interface. And for now, we're just going to go ahead and just label our pages. So let's start with the about page. Click on publish. Now when you do that, it's going to give you an option to view the page or add another page. And right from here, I'm just going to go ahead and add another page by clicking on add page. And this will be the contact page. Go ahead and publish this one. And then let's go ahead and add a reviews page for our reviews or testimonials. Let's publish that one. And then click on add page again. And for this one, this will be our frequently asked questions page. Publish that. And lastly, let's add our services page. Click on add page again and services. And just here, just literally under a minute, you now have all of your pages created. So if we click back out here, you'll see now that all our pages are here. And we're now ready to go ahead and create our menu. So to create the menu from here, just go to appearance, menus, and now you're in the menu creating interface for WordPress. From here, we're going to go ahead and select that we want this to be our main navigation. So we're naming the menu. We want this to be our primary menu, and I also want it to be my mobile menu as well. Click on create menu. And then from here on the left-hand side, you'll see all of the available pages, posts, custom links, and categories. Here under the pages, we're going to click on view all so we can see every page. And then from here, I'm going to select all the pages that I want to be part of my main navigation. So I'm just going to go ahead and check those off, which will be all of them. Click on add to menu. And then from here, I'm going to organize my menu the way that I want it presented on the front end of the website. So from here, I want the services page to be right after the home page. And then after that, we're going to have the about. Then the reviews will be right after about. Frequently asked questions will be right after reviews. And then the contact us will be the last one in the menu here. Okay. Now I don't want this to say home page, so I'm going to go ahead and just save this menu, and then we'll navigate out to pages. I'm going to go to my home page here, click on edit, and we're just going to change this, remove the page from there. Now once we've changed that to home, let's go ahead and click on save, and then let's view this on the front end. And you see now we have our navigation. Okay, so now that we have the navigation, the only thing that's left is for us to place a call to action here on the right hand side. Okay, so to do that, our call to action is going to be request a consultation. And so to create that, we're going to go to the customizer here, click on customize. We're going to select the header tab. And then here in the header creation interface, in the middle row, we want to go ahead and add a button next to our navigation. I'm going to click on the plus sign. I'm going to select the button widget. And you see it places a button right there for me. I'm going to click on the cogwheel for the settings for that button. And we're going to change the text to say requests a consultation. Okay, for now the URL is just going to be a hashtag, or we can actually make this our contact page. So I'm going to just go ahead and make that our contact page, because our contact will double as our request a consultation. So I can do a / contact, and then we can style this button, right? It's kind of large there. So I'm going to come back here, click on the cogwheel for this button, go to the design, and let's see what this looks like on a small size. So that's way too small. We'll keep it here at medium, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to reduce that font. So I'm going to come to the font here, go to size, and let's bring this down to 16 pixels. Okay, that looks much better and a little less overwhelming. All right, I'm pretty happy with the way the button looks. I'm happy with this navigation. Now you can customize your navigation further if you want. If you click on the pencil here or you click on the cogwheel here, it gives you more options to be able to customize your navigation. For instance, if you think these are too close, we can go ahead and create some more space by increasing the item spacing. So I can increase this if I want. Let's go to 2. So 2 M's. All right, that looks a lot better. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and publish this. And just like that, we have completed the creation of our header. Now, before we move on to creating the content area for our home page, what I'd like to do is also make sure that the mobile version of the header is also created. And in Kadence, you have the ability of creating a header for your desktop and also customizing it for mobile devices as well. So let's make sure we've done that. So from here, I'm going to go back to the customizer. So click on customize in the admin toolbar, and then I'm going to go back to header. And then here in the header building interface here, you'll see tablet/mobile, the tablet/mobile tab. Go ahead and click on it. And now we can see what this will look like on a mobile device. Okay, and if you want to see it on an actual phone, you can just click on this phone icon here, and it'll show you what it looks like. And you can click on the hamburger menu here and you'll see the mobile menu. So the interface for the tablet and mobile is separate from the desktop, right? So by default, it actually does look pretty good already. That's one of the great things about Kadence is the responsive versions of it are already pre-prepared for you. So you don't really have to do that much, but you can further customize it. So notice that under the tablet/mobile, there's this off canvas option. And then there are these rows here that only pertain to the mobile version. So for instance, I might want my logo to be, let's say I wanted it to be in the center in the mobile version, but if I go back to the desktop version, it still aligns to the left here. Okay, so you get a chance to be able to customize this any way that you want, or you can just leave it where it will take on just the default of what it looks like on the desktop, where the logo is to the left. Same with all the other elements. Okay, now this off canvas area, that deals with everything that goes in here where we have our mobile menu. And there's a separate mobile navigation widget for that here. So you can customize it further if you want. So what I want to do is I want to add my call to action right here in the off canvas menu. To do that, I'm going to click on the plus sign here. Go ahead and select a button. Click on the cogwheel for that button so that you can get to the settings for the button. And then over here, we'll change the label for the button. And we'll say request a consultation. We'll want this to go to our contact page, and we want it visible for everyone. You can create buttons that are only available to logged out people or logged in or everyone. So we want this to be for everyone. Okay, so now if I look at this in the menu here, I can see they request a consultation button there. Okay, I can go to design, and let's say we want to reduce that font slightly. Just click on the font setting. Go to size, and I'm going to drop this down to 16 pixels. Okay, and now that looks great. I'm happy with the way that looks. Now let's also take a look at it on a cell phone. So I'm going to click on the cell phone icon here. It's going to bring it even lower. And we can go ahead and click on this. And you can see here, the slide out is really nice. All right, I'm happy with the way this looks on mobile. Let's go ahead and publish this and exit the customizer. And so if I look at this on a mobile device, I'm going to go ahead and open up the Chrome Developer Tool. And we can see here it does operate correctly. All right, let's go ahead and move on to creating the rest of the homepage. Okay, so to create our homepage, we're going to start with the hero section, which will contain our unique selling proposition, a little blurb, and some calls to action, as well as a featured image. So let's go ahead and do that right now. So from here, you can go to the admin toolbar and click on Edit Page. That will take us to the block editor where we can go ahead and edit the home page. And here where we have this first block line, we're going to go ahead and insert a row. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can click on the plus sign surrounded by the blue box here, which is the block inserter. If you click on that, you'll see the Kadence Blocks, and the two container blocks that we have in Kadence Blocks are the row layout and the section layout. And in this case, we're going to be utilizing the row layout. So if you just go ahead and drag this over and drop it into the editor, that'll give you your row layout. And then from here, we're going to select the layout that we want within that row layout. And in this case, we want a 2-column row so that our text is going to be on the left-hand side, and then our image will be on the background. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and hover over the visual padding here. That's what this green bar here is at the top and the bottom. Right now it's set to small. And what I like to do is I like to just extend this as far as it'll go, which is 5 extra large. Now I can go further. You can customize this further if you want, but for now, this is great for what we're doing. And then I want to do the same thing on the bottom. So we have matching padding on top and the bottom. And then here in the short menu, I'm going to go ahead and set the inner content width for this row, which is going to go ahead and center the sections for me. So to do that, just click on this inner content width icon and then toggle this on to use the theme's content inner width. You can also do this in the settings for the row here on the right hand side where it says content max width. If you toggle this on or off, it goes ahead and extends it or centers those 2 sections for you inside of the row. Okay, now that we've done that, we can go ahead and add our image. So make sure you have the row block selected. Move over to the right, select the Style tab. Then here where we have the background image field, click on Select Image. And then from here, we're going to go ahead and add our image. So here's the image that we're using. And then from here, we can go ahead and start styling. But before we style, I like to go ahead and add my text to this row as well, and that way we can style everything at the same time. So on the left hand section here, this is where our text is going to go. I'm going to click on the plus sign, which will open up a little mini block inserter for me. And then from here, I'm going to add the text block from Kadence. Okay, so we can't really see it very well right now, and that's just because it's taking on the default colors and we have a very light background here. So to make sure that we can see what we're adding, let's just go ahead and select that row, move over to the right, go to the Style tab, scroll down, and look for the text color settings. We're going to set the text color settings for the entire row from this point. That way all the child blocks that are inside of the row layout will take on this color unless we change it specifically. So from here, I'm going to set the text color to white. Okay, so now we can see that a little bit better. And now we just need to go ahead and add our text. Okay, so the first bit of text I'm going to add here is going to be 24/7 on-site response and cleanup. Let's go ahead and just paste that in there. I'm going to hit the Enter key, type a / and select the text block. And then we're going to add our second line of text, which is going to be fire, smoke, and water damage restoration. Okay, I'm going to hit the Enter key one more time. Type a /, select the text block, and then I'm going to enter my blurb text, okay, which is very long. Okay, now this is meant to be paragraph text. So right now everything is taken on an H2 heading tag. In this case, this actually needs to be a paragraph. So here in the short menu, I'm going to change the designation from an H2 to a paragraph. Okay, so it gives me paragraph text. All right, now we need 2 buttons. So 2 calls to action, hit the Enter key. We'll type a /, type the word button, and we'll select the button block from Kadence Blocks. And the text for this is going to be request a consultation. And then I'm going to make sure I select the container here. You can just click on the side, that'll select the container for the button. Okay, and then I'm going to click on this plus sign. It's going to give me a duplicate button. Okay, with the same label. But we're going to change this to say call, and we'll add a placeholder phone number. Okay, so now we have all of our blocks, all of our elements inside of the row layout. Now we're ready to go ahead and start styling it. Okay, so let's style that section that has the text so that we can see the text and it does the job of drawing the site visitor's attention. I'm going to select one of the text here, and then I'm going to click on this box here. It's going to allow me to select the parent container for that text, which is going to be the section. So now with that section selected, I'm going to move over to the right to the settings, go to the Style tab, and then we're going to look for the background color here. I'm going to select the color selector, and we're going to add our darkest color here, our strongest text color. Okay, so now we can see what we're working with. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some spacing around this. So with that section still selected, go to the Advanced tab, and then under the padding, we're going to link all the sides here by clicking on the linked icon, And then we're going to increase this to large. Okay, so that's going to give us some nice spacing around the text. The other thing that I want to do is I want to style this container as well, okay, so that it doesn't just look like a hard cornered section here. So with the section selected, just select the section. I'm going to move over to the right, go to the Style tab, scroll down. Here you'll see the border styles. I'm going to go ahead and open that up. And then here where we have the border radius, I'm going to set a top border of 40 pixels and a bottom border radius of 40 pixels. That's going to give me a rounded top corner here and a rounded bottom corner here on the right. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with the way this looks. The other thing that I want to do is I want this to be slightly lifted off the page, because right now it's flat on that image. So to do that, we're going to take advantage of the box shadow attribute here. So under the border styles, let's toggle on box shadow. We're going to select this third option here. And then here, we're going to increase the opacity of the shadows. Very subtle. So we're going to increase the opacity, and we want this to be at 80%. So I'm going to increase this until I see a 0.8. Okay. And you can see there's a very slight shadow around that. Very subtle. Exactly how we want it. Okay, so now that looks great. The next thing that we want to do is we want to go ahead and style the actual text itself. Okay, so let's start with the buttons. So here where we have the button, I'm going to select the button container, and I'm going to go ahead and center this, actually justify this to the left. So click on the justify icon here in the short menu, and then click on justify items to the left. This way everything is flush to the left. Okay, the next thing that I want to do is, actually let's remove the A there. We just wanted to say request consultation. So request consultation. So the next thing I want to do is I want to style these buttons. I want this button to be our regular prominent button in red, but I want this one to be different because we're asking for a different action here. Okay, so but let's start with the request a consultation one first. I'm going to select the button. I'm going to move over to the right. One thing that I want this to be is I want this to be a full width button. Okay. The other thing that I want is I want the text to be a little bit more bold. So if we go to the Style tab, scroll down to Typography Settings, and here where we see the font family and font weight, if you open up the font weight, you're going to see that it says regular. And that's because the font that we're using doesn't have a bold setting on it. Okay, so I want to actually use the heading font family, which is Poppins. So I'm going to go ahead and select that here, font family, and you can see that bolded the text for me. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing to the button on the right here. And one way you can do this really quickly is you could just select the button, click on the copy paste styles icon in the short menu, click on copy styles, select the second button, click on the copy paste styles icon, and then select paste styles, and it will give it all the same attributes that you just gave the first button. Okay, but we still want this to be different. Okay, so first thing is I'm going to select the button container, move over to the right, and I'm going to set a button gap of small so there's more space in between them. And then I'm going to select the call button here, move over to the right, go to style, and I want the color of the text in there to be our darkest color. I want the background to be white or a light color, like that. And then I want, when you hover over it, I want the color of the text to be white, and I would like the background to be our highlight color. Okay, so this way when I hover over it, it looks like that. All right, then let's go back, select the button again, make sure the button is selected. Let's add a call or phone icon to that. So I'm going to scroll down here in the settings under the Style tab. You'll see the icon settings here. Let's open this up. We'll click on the select icon field, and we'll type in a search for phone, and let's just pick this phone icon. We want the location actually to be on the left. So here it has the icon location. Let's set that to be on the left. All right, so now our buttons actually look pretty good. Okay, now one thing we want to make sure of, we want to make sure this looks good on a mobile device. So I'm going to go ahead and just select the main row, and let's look at it on a tablet. So I can already tell on a tablet it does look kind of strange. So on the tablet for this row layout, we're going to make the layout collapse to rows. Okay, so this setting here is what we want on the layout. So just go ahead and select it, and now that looks a lot better. Then we'll look at it on a cell phone. So we can see here on our cell phone, our text is doubling to 2 lines here. So that's not what we want, and that's coming because of the padding that we have here on this main section. So I'm going to select the section, move over to the right, go to advanced, and I typically set my sections in a mobile device to be at a small level there. So the small 24 pixels all around is usually enough, and you can see it can contain our text for our buttons quite nicely. Okay. All right, so we're good with the buttons and the way they look there. Let's go back to the desktop view, and now we're going to style our text. Okay, so there are two texts that we want to style here. The first one is our badge text. So this is actually going to be a badge, and this is going to be our main text. So let's start with the main text. So we're going to select it. Now our main text should be an H1 tag. So this is the text that typically contains our main keywords here. So I'm going to click on the H2 designation. We're going to change that to an H1. The second thing we want to do is we want this to be pretty prominent and easy to see. So we're going to make this bigger to show that it's an important piece of text, both to the site visitor and to the search engines. So I'm going to select it, move over to the right, and I'm going to change the font size to 2XL. Okay. Now we can see this really big spacing in between here. I'm going to set the line height. First, select the unit you want, which is going to be rems. And let's set the line height to 3.6. Okay. It's going to give it a decent line height there. All right, the other thing that I want to do is we have equal widths here for our sections, okay? And I want this section to be slightly larger than the right one. So the left one should be slightly larger than the right one, okay? So I'm going to select, just place my mouse in between here, this little gap that we have here in the row. So right here. If you have a difficult time doing that, just select the row itself and then move your cursor in between here. See how it turns into the drag cursor? So click down and drive over just a little bit. So you have 55% and 45%. And you can see now it contains our text really nicely. Okay. All right. So this is actually looking pretty good. Now we can work on our badge. Okay. So 24/7 on-site response and cleanup. We can get rid of the and cleanup text here. We don't need that because it's implied in the rest of the text. So 24/7 on-site response is just right. And what we want to do here is we want to change this designation from an H2 to a paragraph. Okay, so I'm going to select it, change the H2, turn that into a paragraph. It's going to make it a lot smaller and give it the paragraph tag around it. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to place this inside of its own container, which is going to be the container for the badge. So with the text selected, click on the vertical ellipsis, click on add before. We're going to type a /, and what we want here is a Kadence section. So I can see I already have a section here from Kadence, or if you don't see this, just type the word section and it will appear. Let's go ahead and select it. We'll go over to the settings on the right hand side, go to the style settings. For the background color, we're going to give it a notice background color, which is this yellow color here. And then I'm going to scroll down, go to border styles. And here where we have a border, I'm going to give it a 1 pixel border. And then we're going to select the color and we're going to give it that notice color again. But this time I'm going to lighten up the color by just clicking in the color selector and then choosing a lighter color along the same plane. So you'll see that color here around that section. Okay. The other thing that I want to do is I want that section to have a pill shape. So we're going to achieve that by setting the border radius. Let's go ahead and link all the corners here, and we'll set the border radius to 100 pixels. All right, and then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a subtle box shadow. So just toggle that on here. And now we have a nice little box shadow. It's very subtle, so you're not really going to see much of it yet, but it is there. And then next, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and add our text inside of that new section we just created. So I'm going to select the text. And then using the drag icon, I'm going to drag it right into that section. And we can see that it's now contained within the section. And then with the text still selected, I'm going to click on the align text and align this to the center. And then the other thing that I want to do is I want us to be able to see the text. So with the text still selected, we're going to set the color here on the right hand side in the text settings. Set the color to our darkest color. We're going to go down to the advanced typography settings. We're going to set the font family to the heading font family, so we get that boldness there. And then for the line height on that, to be able to give some space between the top and bottom of the section there, we're going to set a line height here of 2 pixels. Okay, so it's going to spread that out a little bit for us. Then the final thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add an icon to this, so to bring more attention to it. So if I'm scroll down under the text settings, under the style tab, just scroll down to the icon settings here and click on the select icon field. And I want a fire icon. So I'm going to search for fire and we're going to add a fire icon there. And then we're going to select our icon color and we're going to make that color our accent color, the alt accent color. So it's really bright. Okay, so if we look at it now, we can see that we now have our badge. The next thing we need to do is we need to make it look like a badge that's pasted on top of this section here. Okay, so to do that, let's go ahead and select the section. Move over here to the right. And then we're going to go to the Advanced tab. And we're going to give this a custom margin. So click on the custom size icon here for the margin. On the top, we want this to be negative 60 pixels. Okay, so that's going to float it slightly off of that section there. Okay, so if we look at it now, if I click away from this, you can see how it's well placed on that section there. Okay, the next thing that we want to do is we want this badge to be closer to the left-hand side of the entire section. Okay, so to do that, we're going to need to place a margin on the right-hand side of the section. So I'm going to select the section. Okay, move over to the right. On the Advanced tab, here where we have the margin, we're going to set this margin to 280 pixels. So that's going to shorten up that section while keeping our content in the middle and then placing it to the left-hand side of that section. So if we look at it now, if we click away, we can see now we have a really nice badge there that really draws the eye. Okay. So the only thing we need to do now is go ahead and make sure that we take care of this gap. Now this gap is coming from our H1 tag over here. So there's some default margin there. So let's go ahead and select it. We'll move over to the right, go to Advanced. Here where we have the margin, click in the top field. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and zero this out by making sure that it's set to none. And then you can go ahead and add the appropriate margin. So in this case, the appropriate margin is actually going to be a large. So now we have considerable distance and good spacing there. So now this looks really good. We can see now we have our very nicely created attention grabbing section. Now what I'd like to do is I'd like to make sure that this still looks good on a mobile device. Okay, so I'm going to select the row, move over to the right, select the tablet icon. Okay, so that does look good on a tablet, so we don't need to do anything here. And now we need to look at how it looks on a cell phone. So I'm going to click on the mobile device icon or the cell phone icon, and we can see here it totally collapses. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and select it and move over to the right, go to the style, actually go to the Advanced tab. And here under the Advanced tab, let's actually turn on our custom size here. And what we're going to do is we're going to set that right margin to 0. Okay, so that gets rid of that collapse over there. We're going to leave the margin top exactly the way that it is. Or maybe we might want to reduce it slightly. So let's actually reduce this to negative 40. And if we click away, we can see that we're able to maintain the look of that badge there. So it looks really good. Now we just need to take care of our text here. Okay, so our buttons look good, but our text here does not look very good. So let's go ahead and select our H1 tag text here, our main text. Move over to the right. The first thing we want to do is we want to take care of the line height. So let's go ahead and set this to 2, or actually even better would be actually maybe 3. Yeah, 3 is better. And then let's also take care of the font size, and let's make the font size large. This way we can see this a lot better now. So we'll set this font size, set it to extra large, to extra large. And then the line height, we'll set the line height to 2.8. All right, and that looks a lot better. Okay, so we can read the text clearly, and there's good separation here. Okay, let's reduce some of the spacing here as well. So make sure you have that text selected. Move over to Advanced, and here where we have the margin set to large, let's go ahead and set that to medium. Okay, and that looks a lot better on our mobile device. So this way, when you see it on the mobile device, we've got that attention getter here. We have our unique selling proposition, our description, and our buttons nicely contained inside of the container. Okay, so I'm pretty happy with this. Let's go back and make sure everything still looks good on the desktop. It does. How does it look on a tablet? That looks great. Mobile device, that looks awesome. Okay, now one thing we may want to do on our mobile device here is we still have a lot of spacing here. So 5x large space, we can actually reduce this. So I'm just going to drag this to 3x large. It's always good to have some space. And let's go ahead and save it. And then if we view the page, we now see we have a beautiful hero section with a very nice, technically call to action section here, where we have the 24/7 on-site response benefit highlighted. We have what we actually do, which is fire, smoke, and water damage restoration, our description text, and then our primary call to action and our secondary call to action. Okay. All right. And now that we've completed the hero section, next, let's go ahead and build out the rest of the page. Okay, so from here, let's go ahead and add a benefits section right below our hero section here. So from here, I'm going to click on edit page, and let's click right below that hero section to create a new block line. I'm going to type a /, type the word row, select the row layout from the Kadence Blocks. And then for the layout, we're going to choose a 3-column layout for our benefits here. And then here in the short menu, I'm going to set the inner content width to be the inner content width of the theme. And then I'm going to move over here to the right under the settings for this row, go to the Style tab, and we're going to add a subtle background color. Now we're ready to go ahead and add our benefits. So on the first section, I'm going to click on the plus sign, add a text block from Kadence. I'm going to change this designation to an H3, and we're going to go ahead and add our first benefit. Okay, next I'm going to go ahead and style this. So on the right hand side where we have the settings for that text, I'm going to set the font size to medium, and then I'm going to go to the icon settings for this text. We're going to click on the select icon field, and we'll do a search for a clock to represent time, and we'll go ahead and add the clock icon right next to it. Next, we're going to go ahead and add a color. So let's add our highlight color, and then let's add a little bit of padding to the right to create some separation between the text and the icon. So I'm going to click on the right field here in the icon padding, and let's just add an extra small spacing there. Okay, so I like the way this looks. I'm going to go ahead and select it, and then in the menu that appears here, I'm going to click on the vertical ellipsis, and we're going to click on copy to copy it, and then we'll go to the next section here, click on the plus sign, add a paragraph block, and then just press Command V or Control V if you're using a PC. I'm using a Mac. And then to go ahead and paste in the copy of the block we just created. So now we have 3 identical blocks. Now we just need to change the icons and the text. So the next one will be free damage assessments, and the final one will be complete restorations. Okay, now we need to change the icons. So on the first one here, I'm going to select the text, move over to the right. Under the Style tab, look for the icon settings. We're going to get rid of that clock icon, and we'll replace the free damage assessments with, let's say, a clipboard. There we go. And then the complete restorations, same thing. Icon settings, get rid of the clock icon, and we will replace this with a refresh icon. Next, let's just make sure that this looks good on a mobile device. So I'm going to select the entire section. I'm going to move over to the right. And what we're looking for is the tablet icon. So let's go ahead and click on it so we can see what this looks like on a mobile device. I'm actually pretty happy with the way this looks. It's aligned very well, and you can read the text just fine. Now let's look at it on a cell phone by clicking on a cell phone icon. And you can see this aligns very well already, which is one of the beautiful things about Kadence. A lot of the mobile responsiveness is actually pretty much done for you once you create it on the desktop view. All right, I'm happy with the way this looks. Let's go ahead and save our work, and we view it on the front end, and we can see that our homepage is coming together quite nicely. Next, let's add a section for our services. So from here, I'm going to go to Edit Page. It's going to take me back to the block editor. I'm going to click on the new block line there, type /, type the word row, select the row layout from Kadence. This time I'm going to select a 1-row layout. I'm going to go ahead and set the inner content width to use the inner content width of the theme. And then let's go ahead and add our information. So I'm going to click on the plus sign. We want a heading here. It's going to be an H2 heading. Let's go ahead and center this, and then add our text. And then we'll add our description text right below it. So I'm gonna hit the enter key, / type the word text, select the text block from Kadence, change this to a paragraph. Let's go ahead and center that paragraph. And then we're gonna go ahead and grab our text, paste it in there. Now I want this text, this is going really far across the screen, so there's a couple of ways to handle this. You can break it up using the enter key. Just hold down the shift and hit enter. Just going to break it up for you so that we have this on 2 lines. All right, next we want to add our actual services, and we're going to add this as a grid. So maybe 6 services will do. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that last paragraph we created, hit the enter key, type a / and we're going to select a row layout. And then we want a 3-column row to start. And since we're going to add 6 services, we're probably going to add additional rows. But let's just create the first service container, and then we'll work on the others. So in this section, we're going to represent our services by creating cards. And there's a couple of ways you can do this. We can create the cards with individual blocks. So maybe an icon, a title text for the service, and a brief description of the service, and then a learn more button or learn more link. Or we could also use a block called the info box block. And what that block does is it has all those elements already put together for you, but just in one block. So let's use that for the sake of time. And then later on, we'll take a look at actually using individual elements, maybe in a different tutorial. So from here, I'm going to click on the plus sign, and I'm going to do a search for info. And you'll see this info box, which is a block from Kadence. And when you select it, you get a block like this, where you have an icon, you have a title, and you have a description. Okay, so it saves you the time of having to add an individual icon, individual title, and individual description. And then there's even more settings to this as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and just style this first. I'm going to select it, and then I'm going to move over to the right. And I'm pretty happy with the layout, but I do want all the content aligned to the left. So here, the text alignment, I'm going to go ahead and change that to the left. Okay, now we can go ahead and style the individual elements as well. So to do that, go to the Style tab, and here you'll see you have the media settings, title settings, text settings, and learn more settings. Let's start with the media settings. So for the media settings, I want that icon to be a lot smaller. So let's go ahead and click on it. And here where we have the icon size, I'm going to reduce this to 30 pixels. The other thing that I want to do is I want that icon also further to the left. So if we scroll down, we'll see that there's media padding, and then there's also media margin. Okay, so that left margin, let's go ahead and remove that. And it's going to move it over for us. And then I'm going to unlink the sides of the media padding, and I'm going to remove the padding for the left-hand side that moves it over even more. So now it's fully flush with the rest of the elements inside of this container. Okay, now let's go ahead and just add our content, and the content is going to determine our icon. Okay, so for this first service, let's call this emergency response. And we'll just add some text here. Okay. And now I can go back here to the media, and I can choose anything that would represent an emergency. So how about this one? Okay, so emergency response. And we'll set the color for this icon to our highlight color. Okay, and now we can style the rest of this. So I think the text here is really too big. So let's go ahead and select it, move over to the right. And since we have an H2 text over here, we really want this to be an H3. So let's go back to style, and I'm going to minimize the media settings and open up the title settings. And let's set this to be an H3 text, and I want it to be even smaller than that. So we'll set this to be medium sized. Okay. One thing I do want to change slightly, it's just I would like this to have rounded corners. So I'm going to select the info box, move over to the right. Here where we have the container settings, there's a border radius option. I'm going to link all the corners and we're going to set this to 6 pixels. Then I also want to add a very slight border. So I'm going to add 1 pixel border. We're going to click on the color selector for this. And we want just a very light border. So let's select this one. Okay, now that's a little bit too dark for me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize. I'm going to add some opacity. 40% for the alpha. So now that we have the first one, we now know what to do to add the rest. And what I like to do here is I just simply will copy this info box, click on the plus sign, select paragraph block, and go ahead and paste it in using Command V or Control V if you're using a PC. Okay, so now we have our services. We need 3 more services. So I'm going to select this one here. There's a couple of ways we can do this. We can actually select the whole row itself, click on the plus sign, and that would give us a new section here. Click on the plus sign again, paragraph, and paste it in. That's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is actually duplicating the entire section. So I select this info box, and then I select its parent container, which is going to be that section. I can actually duplicate this and get a full section and info box again. And let's do that one more time. There we go. That saves you some time. Okay. Now all we need to do is just change the content. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Okay, so I've changed all the content, so each service is a different service. Now I just need to make a few adjustments here, and let me show you how to do this in a way that we make adjustments across the board here. So I'm going to select the emergency response, or the first service here. I'm going to move over to the right, and what I want to do is I just want to create some more spacing around the content. So if you move over to the right, in the advanced tab, we're going to add a little bit more padding to our container here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just unify the sides, and I want the padding to actually be medium, like so. Okay, all right, so that's a lot better. So now I'm going to select it, click on copy styles, select the second one, and we'll paste the style. Let's do the same thing here. Paste styles, paste styles, paste styles, and paste the styles. Okay. All right. So notice that when we did that, some of these are kind of misaligned here, right? Because all the text is not the same size. So let me show you how to fix this if you're using info boxes. So the first thing you want to do is select your first info box, move over to the right, go to the Advanced tab, and under the Advanced tab, you're going to see here where it says Set Height to 100%. Let's go ahead and toggle that on, and we'll just do that for every single one of these. So now that we've turned them on, that setting the height to 100%, we need to do one more thing, because notice it didn't really change anything. So what you want to do is you want to select the container row that contains all those services with all the sections inside of it. Go to the Advanced tab, go to Structure Settings, and then toggle on Inner Column Height to 100%. And when you do that, you'll notice that all of them will now be the same size. Okay? So no matter what you add in here, they'll all match each other and look uniform on the page. The next thing we want to do here is go ahead and add a Learn More link to each of these. So I'm going to select the first one, move over to the right, go to Style. Okay, we'll scroll down. And here we have a Learn More settings. Let's open this up. Click on Show Learn More. Okay, and we want to set this one, we'll set this text color here to our highlight color, indicating that it's a link. And then the other thing that we want to do is, again, notice that there's a little bit of spacing in there. Since we're only going to be using the text, I want to get rid of that spacing. So the spacing is on the left. Here where we have the padding, let's go ahead and set that to 0. Okay. All right, and that looks a lot better. So now I want all the other ones to have Learn More link. So to do that, just click on the Copy Paste Styles for the first one. Click on Copy Styles. We're going to select the next one, and we'll say Paste Styles, and you just go through and do that for all of them. Now notice that it's a little dimmed out, and that's because it's just waiting for you to put in the actual text. So just click on it, type Learn More. Learn More. And we'll just do that for all of them. All right, so now we have our full service section. We just need to do one more thing. I'm going to click on the link here. And we're going to click on the vertical ellipsis. Click on Add After. Type a /. And what we want to do here is we want to add a button that says View More Services. So we'll say button. Okay, and it'll say View More Services. And because this is not really a call to action button, we're going to style this a little bit differently. So I'm going to select it, move over to the right, and I want this to be an outline like that. And then go to Advanced. Let's add a little bit of margin to the top. Extra small is good. And now we are done with this section. So let's go ahead and click on Save. All right, and later on, we'll link this to the services page, and then we'll link these to their individual services. So view this on the front end. And so now we have our hero section, we have our benefits section, and then we have a services section. Okay, let's go ahead and add a How We Help section to this homepage. So I'm going to click on Edit Page to go back to the block editor. Scroll down to the last row that we created, and then in the new block line, type a /, type the words row. We're going to select a row layout, and this time we're going to select a 2-column row layout. And let's go ahead and add our spacing here, which is going to be 3x large on top and 3x large on the bottom. I'm also going to add a background color to this. So we'll go back, go to the Style tab, click on Background Color, and we'll add a very subtle background color there. Okay, and let's also set the inner content width to the inner content width of the themes. Just toggle that on. All right, so on the left-hand side will be our text. On the right-hand side will be our image. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by adding our text. So this is the How We Help You component. You find this in many local business websites. So depending on your business, you'll want to add that information here. Okay. All right, and let's add some little brief descriptions. Okay, and then I usually like to add this as bullets or bullet paragraphs, but styled. So we're again going to utilize the info box to do this. So I'm going to type /, type the words info, select the info box from Kadence. And this time I'm going to use the icon or the media here as a bullet, and then the text to just describe the way that we help people recover. Okay, so let's go ahead and select this info box, move over to the right, go to Style. All right, and then from here, actually, let's go to the General tab first, and we'll shift everything to the left for our text alignment. And now we can go to Style, and under Style, we're going to go to the Media Settings first. And we're going to change the icon size. Let's change that to 30. And we'll give it an icon color of our highlight color. Okay. And the other thing that we're going to change this time, since we're going to be using this as a bullet point, is we're going to change the alignment on the media itself, the icon. So right now it's set to top. We're going to change that to left. Okay. And then the vertical alignment will be top. The other thing we want to do is we want to, of course, reduce the padding and margin around that icon because we don't need that much. So that's going to be on the left hand side. So I'm going to open up the media padding here, and we're going to zero out the left pixels, and then we're going to do the same thing, zero out the 15 pixel margin there. Okay, it's going to push it out further, and I think that's fine. I'm happy with that there. And then here where we have the top margin, let's just reduce this slightly to, let's go 8. Okay, the other thing we want to do is we want this title to be an H3, since we already have an H2 here, so it's the parent, and then these would be the subtitles. So we're going to change this title size to an H3. So move over back to the settings. Under the style tab, scroll down till you see the title settings, and we'll change this to an H3 title. Okay. All right, and then I also want to reduce it further. So we'll set the font size to medium. All right, so now that we have that, we can go ahead and start adding our text. So the first one on the way we help is organization or professional organization. And then we'll add a description after every service. Okay. So now we have this as a bullet point. Now, if we wanted to highlight this even more, if we want to make it more prominent, one thing we can do is we can select the info box, move over here to the right. Here where we have the border. Okay, we're going to go ahead and add a 3 pixel border. We're going to unlink the sides, and actually we only want this border on the left. So I'm going to zero out the other ones. We don't want a border on top. So we only want the border here, and then we can either use, I like to use a very subtle color here, or something like that, but even more subtle. So you can barely see it, but it clearly shows you that there is a line there. Okay, and then the other thing I do is I'm going to select the box again, go to advanced, and I'm going to add a little bit of margin. So maybe like a small margin here. And now we can just duplicate this to create more bullet points. Okay. All right, so we have some styling, so it's not just text. Okay, so we've got professional organization as our first one. Let's go ahead and add different ways that we help to the other ones. All right, now we just need to add our image on the right hand side. So we're going to actually add an actual image here. So click on the plus sign. I'm going to search for image. I'm going to select the image block from Kadence. Click on select image. And I'll go ahead and drag in an image that I already have prepared. Add the description, click on select, and now we have our image in here. Okay, so let's style this image a little bit. First thing I'm going to do is move over to the right here, and you can choose to use a fixed ratio if you want here, if you're looking to extend this image in any way. This is a really cool option. Okay, it makes the image kind of fill up the space if you set it up as a square. But it isn't really necessary. I just want to show you that you can do that. Let's just turn that off. We'll use the image as is, but what I do like to do is I like to style the image a little bit so it doesn't always look like a plain square. So from here, we're going to go to style, go to the border radius, and let's just add a border radius of 12 pixels so we can have these nice rounded corners for that image. Then the other thing that I like to do is I like to also create some more spacing between the text and the image. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can select the block itself, the row layout itself. And here where we have the column gutter, you can extend that to be a larger column gutter to add some additional spacing here. Okay. And then also, if you like, you can also change the orientation of these, so the way they relate to each other. Right now, everything's aligned to the top. you can set it up to be aligned to the middle. It creates a little bit more balance there for you. All right. Okay. So I'm happy with the way this looks. So now I just want to make sure that this looks good on a mobile device. So I'm going to click here, check it out on the tablet. Okay. So we can see here that on the tablet, it looks a little bit smushed. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and collapse the rows, select that as a layout. So by clicking here. All right. And now we have our content, and then we have an image. I'm happy with the way that looks. Okay. Now, if you don't like it, if you don't like having the image, the text on top in mobile, you can click on collapse order here and reverse that, and it'll put the image on top. Okay. So if you prefer this, then this is also great. Then if you look at it on a mobile device, scroll down here. This looks fine. I'm happy with the way this looks. Maybe this text right here, we could do some work with the spacing, but we'll come back to that. Okay, so, and then this looks good on mobile, but on tablet, see how that looks on a tablet. So on tablet, it looks a little bit more smushed here. Okay, so let's select that row. And then from here, we can determine how we want this layout to go. So there's a number of options. We can say we want it to look like this. This is actually pretty neat. And then there's this one. Okay. We can also make it even, which is the one I prefer. So 2-column grid for a tablet. And when we look at it on a mobile device, it'll still look great. Okay. All right, let's go back to the desktop view. I'm going to select this here, and we need to add a line height to this right here. So we'll add a line height of 2, and on tablet view, that looks fine. On our mobile view, that looks much better. Okay, let's go ahead and save our work, view it on the front end, and just like that, we've added a how we help you recover section. Okay, next we're going to add a process section to our local business homepage here. So from here, I'm going to go to edit page in the admin toolbar. It's going to bring me back to the block editor. I'm going to scroll down, and right below the last row that we just created, I'm just going to go ahead and click right after that. It's going to give me a new block line. Type a /, type the word row, and we're going to select a row layout. We're going to ask for a 2-column row layout. We're going to add 3x large padding on top and 3x large padding on the bottom. And then from here, I'm going to go ahead and set the inner content width to inherit the max inner content width from the theme. And now we can go ahead and start adding our content. And this time we're going to flip this. So we're going to add our image on the left and then our content on the right. So let's go ahead and start with our image. To add an image, we're going to go ahead and click on the plus sign here. We'll select the image block from Kadence. Click on select image, and we'll go ahead and drag in an image I have already prepared. We'll click on select, and then we'll style this. So we'll go to style, and we'll set a border radius here. Let's go ahead and unify the corners, set a border radius of 12 pixels. Okay. All right, next what we need to do is go ahead and add our text. So I'm going to click on the plus sign here, select the text block, and we'll call this our restoration process. We'll add a description right below that. So just hit the enter key, / text. Select the text block from Kadence, change this designation to a paragraph, and then we'll go ahead and add in our text. And all we need to do here is just create a list of what we do here. So I'm going to hit the enter key, type /, type the word icon, and we'll call this the icon list. I'm going to select the parent block settings, select the icon here, and I want to change this icon from, I want this to be actually a more solid checkbox. But I want it to be square. Or actually, this one's actually pretty cool. There we go. And we'll change the color here to our highlight color. And now we can start adding our list content here. So go ahead and paste that in, hit enter, and it gives you the next icon for the list. And we'll just go through and add each and every single one of these. Okay, so I've added all of the steps here for our restoration process. So the next thing we want to do is, it's been a while since we added a call to action here. So we've got view services. We didn't do that since here. So it's always good to add your calls to actions periodically throughout your home page. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this button. We're going to copy it by pressing Control C, or just make sure you have the button selected. So if you select the button, you can open this up here, and right here we have the button container selected. Press Control C to copy. Scroll down back to our restoration process section here. Okay, here click on any one of the list items, and then you click on this button here that will select the parent container. Then we can click on the vertical ellipsis, click on Add After, and now we have a new block line. And then just go ahead and press Command V or Control V if you're using a PC, and it'll go ahead and paste our calls to action there. Okay, so now the next thing we want to do is we want to actually create more spacing. You see the spacing here is really too close. So I'm going to select the row container, move over to the right, and we're going to add a column gutter of large. Okay, so that gives us some nice spacing there. You can see everything here just looks nice, clean, and crisp. The next thing we want to do is we want to make sure this looks good on a mobile device. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the row layout, move over to the right, select the tablet icon. I'm going to scroll down, and as you can see here, I mean, this could pass. This could be okay, but just to keep everything uniform and consistent, we're going to go ahead and collapse the row here. So select the layout here that collapses the row, which is this last one. And now we have our image on top. We have our content below, and everything looks nice and clean. And then we'll go to the mobile views by clicking on the cell phone icon. And let's take a look at this. Okay, so we can see over here, everything looks really good. All right, now we still have the spacing here, so I want it to have the same styling as the one we have here. So we don't even need to change anything. We can just come here, click on it, click on the copy styles, scroll down, click on the icon again, paste styles, and you know what, you see here the line height has been adjusted. Okay, but all this looks great. And so now that we're done with that, let's go ahead and go back to the desktop view. Click on Save, view it on the front end, and you see here our home page is coming together really nicely. Okay, next let's go ahead and add a testimonial section. Okay, so to add our testimonial section, we'll go back to the block editor by clicking on Edit Page, scroll down. In the new block line, I'm going to type a /, type the word row, add a row layout from Kadence, and we're going to add a 1 column row. Let's go ahead and add 3x large padding on top and 3x large padding on the bottom. Okay, we're also going to go ahead and set the inner content width to the inner content width of the theme. And on this one, we're going to add a background color to differentiate it from the row above. So I'm going to select the row, go to the Style tab, and where we have the background color, click on the color selector, and we'll add a subtle background. Okay, so now we're ready to start adding our content. Okay, so we're going to just click on the plus sign, add a text block, and this is going to say what our customers say. Let's go ahead and center that. And then even right now, we can actually let's set up the line height to 2. All right, and then let's add some descriptive text below it, and / text block, align it to the center, change the designation to a paragraph, and then add our descriptive text. Okay, now we need to add a container that's going to contain our testimonials. And maybe for this one, we'll just have 2 testimonials. So hit the Enter key, /. We're going to type the word row, select the row layout, and this time we'll have a 2 column row layout, so 1 column for each testimonial. Okay, so there's a couple of ways to create testimonials with Kadence Blocks. You can do it with individual blocks, so we have ratings blocks or icon blocks for ratings. We have paragraph blocks and text blocks, and then we also have image blocks. Kadence Blocks also has a testimonial block that's actually pretty nice, and you can customize as well. Okay, so what we're going to do, click on the plus sign, do a search for testimonial, and we'll select the testimonial block from Kadence. So you can see over here we have the testimonial block, and these are really just placeholder text for the content. Okay, so in here I actually like to move everything to be flush to the left, so let's go ahead and customize this. So with this selected, we're going to move over to the right and go to the view parent block settings. Just click on that there. All right, and then over here you can choose your testimonial style. Okay, and then here is where you can customize all the different elements within this testimonial block. Now what I want to do is I want all the text to be floated to the left, and to get to that, right here where we have the short menu, just go ahead and click on the alignment icon and align everything to the left. Then the next thing that I want to do is I want there to be ratings. So I want there to be star ratings here. So on the right hand side, as long as you have the testimonial block container selected, on the right hand side under the style tab, you'll see the rating settings. Let's go ahead and click on that and toggle on show ratings. So we'll see the ratings there. You can see the color here is a really bright yellow. I'm going to change that color to our notice color here. Okay, so it's a little bit more in line with what we have. All right, and then size and everything else is just fine. Okay, and let's go ahead and add our testimonial. So it's really very simple. You just grab some testimonial text, and I have some placeholder text here, and click into the text area here and just go ahead and paste it in. So here's our text. And then we have this title one. You can choose to keep this or not. I typically don't keep this one. So I'm going to select the view parent block settings again, go to style, scroll down, look for the title settings. I'm going to toggle that off. All right, great. And then you just put the name of your person here. So in this case, I'll just put a name there, and maybe where they're from. So let's say Sacramento. You can do it like that, or you can utilize the occupation and use that as a location, Sacramento. Okay, and then here is where you can add an image. So let's just add a placeholder one. I'm going to click here. This time we'll go to pixels, and I'm just going to do a shot for maybe headshot. Okay, so we have many headshots here, and we can just select one. Someone is really happy with our service. She looks pretty happy. Okay, download image. So Kadence is connected to Pexels, and you can get in here and easily grab placeholder images for your build outs. Okay, so we have a nice image right there. All right, so I like the way this looks. Nice, clean, and very simple. Now I do want this to sort of pop out from the background there, so I don't want it just to be text like this. So what we're going to do is, instead of styling the text testimonial background, which we could do, I'm actually going to style the section background. So I'm going to click on the testimonial here, open this up in list view. I'm going to select that section, move over to the right, go to style, go to background color, and we'll set that to be white. Then we also want to give it a border. So let's go to border styles. We'll click on the border field, add the number 1, and let's add a very light color there. So let's see. There you go. It's very light. And then for the border radius, we're going to unify the corners and set the border radius to 12. All right. And so it should look like that. All right. And then let's add a little bit more spacing in between, spacing between the edges and the content. So I'm going to move over here and come to advanced, and let's increase this to, whoops, that's not the right one. Reset that. I want to make sure I'm selecting the right thing here. So we want this section. There we go. Advanced. And we'll bring this in to small. Okay, so now that looks a lot better. a lot of breathing room here. Okay. Okay, and then from here we can just put some quotes there to make it seem as if someone's talking. All right, there we go. And so now we have our testimonial section. So what we could do is we could just grab this testimonial. You can do that here in list view too. So you can just grab the testimonial here, and we'll copy it. Click on the plus sign in the second column. Let's add a paragraph block. Command V to paste that in, or Control C if you're using a PC. And then now we know it's inside of this section. Let's go back to this section. Click on the copy styles. Then we'll select the second section. Click on the copy paste styles, and then click on paste styles, and we'll have exact matching testimonials. So now all we need to do is change the content in here. And so to do that, I'm going to grab a completely different testimonial, placeholder text, and we'll add it here. We'll change the name. That actually should be a period, not a comma. And let's change the city. All right, so now we have a little bit of an imbalance here because the testimonials are not the same length of text. That's a really easy fix. Just go ahead and select the row layout that contains those testimonials. Move over to the right, go to Advanced, Structure Settings, and we'll set the inner column height to 100%. Go ahead and toggle that on, and then everything will match. We also need to change the face here. So pixels, smiling man. All right, here's somebody that looks happy. Okay, so now we have our testimonial section, and that was really easy to create. Let's go ahead and click on Save. Now, one thing before we view this on the front end, let's just make sure that it looks good on our mobile device. So we'll click on the row layout, move over to the right, click on the tablet view. Let's scroll down. Okay, so this actually does not look bad. I actually don't mind this side by side. Doesn't really look that scrunched up. Now, of course, if you don't like this, here we can select that row and go to the layout tab, and we could collapse it, right? So that also looks pretty good as well. Let's leave it like this. This just looks neater. And then we'll look at it on a mobile device, on a cell phone, and that looks good. Okay, satisfied with the way that looks, click on Save. We'll view it on the front end. And so now if we look at our home page, you can see that this is coming together quite nicely. Let's add a button right after this to view or read more testimonials. So we'll click on Edit Page, scroll down, and instead of creating a whole new button, I'm just going to grab this one. We'll copy it, scroll down, select that row, click on the vertical ellipsis, click on Add After, and we'll go ahead and paste that in there, and we'll say read more testimonials. Okay. All right, and this section is done. Let's go ahead and save. View it on the front end. Looks fantastic. All right, let's continue and let's add another section. Okay, so let's add one final section to our home page here. And this is going to be the final call to action before the page flows into the footer. So to do that, we'll go back to the block editor by clicking on Edit Page. All right, and we're going to want our final call to action to sort of match the initial call to action section here. So we're going to be using all these colors to do it, mainly the main charcoal color, and then the call to action buttons, and then some text. Okay, so we'll scroll down here to the last one that we just created. Click on the new block line there, type a /, type the word row, select the row layout. This is going to be a 1-column row layout. We want this to be 3x large for padding on top, 3x large for padding on the bottom. Okay, we're also going to set the inner content width to use the themes content inner width. And then we're going to do some customizations to this. So first we'll select it, move over to the right, go to the style tab, and the background color is going to be our darkest color, kind of like we had at the very top. Then the text color settings, we're going to set that to white now so that when we're adding our content, we can see it. And that's pretty much all we need. Now we just need to add our content. Okay, so we'll start with the beginning of the call to action. So we'll click on the plus sign here, select the text block. We'll add some text. Now, because this is a call to action, we can actually make this a little bit bigger. So let's make it extra large, and let's give it a line height of 3. We'll say 3.2, and we'll set that to rems. Okay, awesome. Next, let's add some descriptive text below that. Okay, and we'll go ahead and center that text. Make sure this is a text block from Kadence, so we have the maximum amount of customization. All right, so we can see there's a lot of spacing between this here, so I'm going to select the top one, top text, advanced, and make sure that I zero out that margin and then add the margin that I want, which is usually going to be a medium or small margin, excuse me. Okay. All right, and then the other thing I want to do is I would love for this to be on 2 lines. So I'm going to hit the enter key. Get a free damage assessment from our expert team. Respond 24/7 to help you restore your property. Awesome. Now we just need the buttons that are the calls to action here. So instead of creating new ones from scratch, we're just going to scroll up here. And let's click here. Make sure we select the actual button container, command copy, or you can click on the vertical ellipsis and press copy. Scroll down, hit the enter key, and now we have our buttons. Now, of course, they're showing full here, but we can fix that. Just select the first one, change the button width to auto, select the second one, change that to also auto. And then for the alignment, click on the justification icon and justify those items to the center. Okay, nice, simple, straight, and direct to the point. And now we have our final call to action before we flow into our footer. Let's get rid of that additional block line below there. Just hit your delete key. And now we have this here. So let's take a look at all of this on the front end. Actually, before we do that, let's make sure this looks good on mobile. So we'll click on the row, look to the right, settings, click on the tablet icon, and we can scroll down. Okay, it looks great on a tablet. Take a look at it on a mobile device. Looks great on a mobile device as well. Okay, all right. One thing I'm not liking how this is breaking up that way, and that's because we're using the enter key here. So let's go back, and what we'll do instead is I will hit the backspace key so it's all on one line. And then because this is a text block from Kadence, we actually have the ability to control the maximum width here. And I just want it to be slightly more narrow than the main text up here so that it's not overcoming the text. So I'm going to click on the general tab for this text. And here you can see we have a max width control that we can utilize. And I'm going to set that up here to be 600 pixels. Okay, and now that looks a lot better. Okay, so now when we look at it on a mobile device, on a cell phone, okay, we can see now it now reads correctly. There's no strange breaks in the layout. Okay, let's get rid of this extra block line, save our work. And when we view this on the front end, we now have a full and totally complete home page. That's sure to convert very well. And it looks beautiful. All right, we have one more thing to do here before we close out this tutorial. So remember, this is the first part of the tutorial where we're just working on the home page. In the follow-up tutorials, we'll work on the internal pages. And so that one thing that we need to do is we need to create our footer for the website, and then we're ready to dive into the internal pages. So to create our footer, let's go ahead and navigate to the customizer. So click on customize in the admin toolbar. And then from here, we're going to go to the footer tab. And similar to the header builder, you can see we have a footer builder. And the footer builder at the bottom here actually represents what you will see here. And you can see we have 3 rows, a top row, a middle row, and a bottom row. The bottom row currently contains the copyright information for the site. And then on the left, we have available items. So these are the widgets that you can add to build out your footer. Okay. So our footer is going to be a 4-column footer. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the cogwheel for this middle row. It's going to bring up the settings for this middle row here. And you can see under the column settings, you can increase the number of columns that you have. So currently this is set up for 3 columns. I would like it to be set up for 4 columns. Okay. So now that I've done that, we can now go back to the items here, and we're just going to add 4 items. So each of these are widgets, and inside of each widget, you can go ahead and place any blocks that you want. So what I like to do is I like to add the widgets into the row first. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then even though you can edit these widgets and add blocks to them from here. So if I click on the cogwheel here to give me an opportunity to add the blocks, I actually prefer to do it on the back end of the website where you can also add blocks as well. And only because the interface is just a lot easier to navigate versus navigating it in this small side section right here. So at this point, this is really all we need to do in terms of adding content. The other thing that we want to do is, because our footer is going to be a dark footer, we want to go ahead and just set up our design right now so we can see what we're adding when we're adding it. So to do that, I'm going to click on the middle row cogwheel here, and we're going to go to design. And under design, I'm going to have a middle row background. So I'm going to change the color of the background here. And I like to start with our darkest color and then just move it down ever so slightly. Okay. So it's just a little bit darker than our darkest color. So we can have a really dark footer. Okay. All right. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to make sure that any content we place in here is a light color. So I'm going to come over here to where it says widget content. I'm going to click on select color, and I'm going to select just the subtle color here. Okay. And then our link colors are fine. I'm going to remove the underline. So no underline under the links. And for now, that looks pretty good. Then I'm going to take this color right here, which is 1E, 1E, 1E. And I'm going to click on the bottom row where we already have content. Okay. And the background here is white, but I'm going to click on it, go to design and bottom row background. I'm going to click on the color selector here, and I'm going to go ahead and add that color there. Okay, so I can see what the color is going to look like. And then similar to that middle row, I'm going to go ahead and set my widget content to that subtle light color, which you see over here. I'm happy with the color of the links, but I do want to remove that underline under hover. So let's go ahead and say no underline. Okay, so that looks pretty good. The other thing I want to do is I want to reduce the size of the text there. So I'm going to click on the cogwheel. And when you click on the cogwheel for the copyright, just go to the general tab, and here you'll see placeholders for the information you're seeing here right now. So the first thing I typically do if I'm the one building the website is I'll remove the theme credit and instead just add by Clifton WP. So I just add my credit there, and then I like to reduce the size of it because it's usually pretty large. So over here, come over here and then just click on the fonts, go to font size, and I like to bring this down to 14. And I like to add one more thing. So let's click on the copyright, go back here, and right after the copyright year, I like to place a dot, all rights reserved, and then another dot or period in the space. Okay, so now this is all set. Okay, so we have our widgets in place. Now we just need to add content to them. So I'm going to go ahead and publish this. Let's exit. And if we scroll down now, you can see that we have the footer area. So that's this extra space that you're seeing here. and then we have the lowest part of that footer. So now let's go ahead and add content to it. So to add content to the widget areas of our footer, we're going to need to access the widget area in WordPress. And there's a couple of ways you can do that. We can actually do it from here in the admin toolbar. If you hover over the name of the website in the top left and you see this drop down here, you can just select widgets from here. Or if you're already in the dashboard, you can go to appearance and click on widgets. That'll then bring you to the widget area. And here is where you can add the content for those widgets that we added earlier on. And this operates with the Gutenberg blocks. So you could add as many blocks or any blocks in here that makes sense for you to be able to build out your footer area. So let's go ahead and start building out our footer area. Each of these areas, so footer 1 corresponds to widget 1, footer 2 will be widget 2, footer 3 will be widget 3, and footer 4 would be widget 4. So whatever content we put in here will correspond to those respective columns in the footer. Okay, so let's begin adding our content. So in widget 1, which is going to be footer 1, the first column, we're going to add our contact information. So I'm going to click on the plus sign, add a text block, and we'll call this contact. And then hit the enter key for a new block line. I'm going to type /, and this time I'm going to use an icon list from Kadence Blocks by typing the word icon, and I'm going to select the icon list. Okay, so for the first item on the list, it's going to be a phone number. The second item is going to be an address. And then the final item could be your hours of operation. So we'll say open 24 hours a day. Okay, and then the reason I like using an icon list is because you can actually have individual icons for each item on the list. So for a phone number, if I select the phone number item here, move over to the right, click on select icon. For this one, we can have a phone icon. So I will use this one. And then an address, we can have something to indicate an address like a marker. There we go. And then for time or hours of operation, let's go ahead and add a clock. Okay, all right, and then we're done there. The second one is going to be, let's call this our quick links. So click on the plus sign here and add a text block. We'll call this quick links. And then we'll add another icon list. So / icon list. And this could be services. Then we can have reviews and frequently asked questions. So these will link to those individual pages. I'm going to change the icons here. So I'm going to click on the general list box here, move over to the right, and this is going to change the icon for everything on there. And I like to use the caret icon, which tends to point to the text, just like that. Okay. All right. And then footer number 3 is going to be our services. So I'm going to click on the plus sign, select the text block. We'll call it the services. Hit the enter key, /, type the word icon, select the icon list from Kadence, and then we can go ahead and add our services. So let me add all of them right now. Okay, so all of these services have been added. Okay, and for the fourth one, this is where we're going to add our logo and maybe a little description of text. So we'll click on the plus sign, do a search for a block called image. We'll select the advanced image block from Kadence. Click on select image. And I actually have an inverted version of the logo here. Okay, so And let's go ahead and add that. Okay, so just like that. And for this one, well, let's leave it at this size for now and then just see how it looks on the front end. I'm going to click on the vertical ellipsis, click on add after, type a /, select the text block from Kadence, change the designation to a paragraph, and then paste in some content there. Okay, so we've added in all the content. I'm going to go ahead and click on update to save that information there. And then we're going to view this on the front end to see how it looks and see if we need some additional design changes. So now that this is done, I'm going to open this up on the front end. Scroll down. All right, so we can see everything that we've added here. So we see our logo, some text. We can see the items here. Okay, services. For some reason, we're missing the contact heading here, so we'll make sure that that's in there as well. And now we can see our work. We also see that the colors of the text here are not adapting to the white color or the light color that we used in the general settings. So I'll show you how to fix that. Okay, let's go ahead and fix all this. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the widget area. And the first thing I want to do is select the text block here. We'll set this to a lighter background, and we'll do it for all the other ones as well. Light background. I think we're missing one. Here we go. The light background there. Let's update. Okay. And let's view it on the front end. Refresh. All right, so we have everything here and it's showing nicely. Okay, so now all we need to do is really just style this a little bit. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go to the customizer. All right. And let's go to the footer. And let's start making some changes here. So the first thing I want to do is that the text here is a little bit too big, right? So I want the text to actually match the same size text that we have for the bottom footer row. Okay, so I'm going to select that row, and we're going to go to Design, and we're going to click on the widget content, go to Size, and we're going to set this to 14 pixels. Okay, so now everything is a lot smaller. Everything kind of fits in the right column where it's supposed to go. Okay. All right, excellent. Then the next thing that I want to do is I want to add a subtle border here at the bottom to separate the larger footer area from the smaller footer area, or the middle row from the bottom row. Okay. So to do that, in the same design screen, scroll down and you'll see the border settings here at the bottom. And we want the bottom border. Click on the X and we'll select the line as our border. And then I'm going to add a 1 pixel border, click on the color selector, and we can go with a little bit of a lighter color. So this is 1E, 1E, 1E for these colors right here. Let's go ahead and just move one color up. So I'm going to go 2B, 2B, 2B. Okay, and we can get a nice little subtle demarcation right over there. All right, so that looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and click on Publish. And when we view this on the front end, we can now see that our home page for our local business website is now completed. All right, so now if you're looking at this, and one of the things that I'm looking at here is I'm looking at the spacing over here, and I would like to have a little bit more space. And I think I actually want to change the color. I think this dark is too much of a contrast from this call to action out here. So I'm just going to utilize our native color here for the bottom of the site here. So let's go back, click on Customize. We'll go to Footer, and let's deal with that color change first. So I'm going to click on the middle row, go to Design. under the middle row background, I'm going to select it. I'm just going to use our color palette color here. Okay. So now that's all taken care of. And then what I'm going to do next is I'm going to create some separation from the top there. Okay, and the way you do that is if you go to the General tab for this middle row and you scroll down, you'll see over here where it says top spacing and bottom spacing. So I want a little bit more top spacing, and I'm going to go with 90. So it's going to push it down a little bit more. Okay, and then for the bottom, I'm happy with the way the bottom is, but I do want to change the color of the bottom row as well to match our palette. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that cogwheel. And let's go to design, bottom row background color, and we'll just use our regular color here. Okay. We still have a very subtle line demarcation over there. So select the middle row, go to design, scroll down, and over here, we're just going to go up one more. So let's just go 3B, 3B, 3B. Okay. So now we can see that demarcation very easily. Okay. Let's go ahead and hit publish. And then when we view it now on the front end, so we have our nice hero section, benefits, our services, how we help, our process, some testimonials, call to action, and our footer. Okay. And with that, that will conclude the build out of the homepage for our local business website. That also concludes part 1 of our build out for our local business website here, where we focus really on the elements of the homepage. In the next upcoming tutorial in part 2, we're going to focus on building out the internal pages and all the strategies behind doing that. Now, let me show you one thing that I do every time I build out a homepage. So I typically start with the homepage and then I stop everything I'm doing at this point. And if you remember at the beginning of this tutorial, we installed a plugin. So I'm going to go to the dashboard, and if you go to plugins, you'll see we installed this free all-in-one WP migration and backup plugin. Now what this plugin allows you to do is it allows you to create a backup of your site, and you can actually take that backup and save it off-site. So you can save it offline on a different disk or on your computer, but you can also save it to any other cloud service that you want as well. But I like to save a copy off-site. Okay, so once you've built out the homepage, the rest of it really just kind of flows in terms of your design and your layouts and your ideas kind of flow from there. And I always like to preserve my website at this point. So what I do at this point is you go to the dashboard, and here click on all-in-one WP migration, hover over it in the side menu, and then click on export. And then what I do is I click on export site to, and I select file. And what it's going to do is it's going to create a copy of my website at this point, basically a snapshot at this point. And then I'm going to, once this completes, I download it to my computer, save it off site. You can see it's really small. Just download it to your computer, save it off site. And that way, when you come back to your website and you're building it out, if anything happens, you can always easily restore it. So I call this an off-site restore point. What's also really neat is that if you remember, we also built this site on Cloudways. And one of the best things about Cloudways is that Cloudways actually takes continuous backups as your site is on the server. So if we go back to our Cloudways install and we go to the local business install, so this is our application right here where we just built this site. Look over here to the left and let's look at backup and restore. So when we click here, you have this restore section, right? And then you have this backup section. This backup section right here allows you to take a backup now. So if you want to take a backup at this very moment, you can absolutely do that. Okay. And over here, we have the restore points. So you can see it's actually been taking backups for some time, right? So if for whatever reason, as I was building that, something happened to my site, I can always just restore the application up until the point where I actually initially installed it, right? I can always restore that application. It's one of the great things about Cloudways. But I also like to take a backup here as well, and I do it at this specific point. Okay, I utilize the server. I click on take a backup now. This is going to take an in-demand backup for me right now, and it's going to save me at this point. So if anything happens to my site or if I just really want to start from this point after I've moved on from this build, from the build out of where it is right now, I can always very easily restore it either from Cloudways, or I can restore it from my offline backup. Okay, so if you're thinking about getting started with Cloudways, I highly recommend it. It's a great place for you to build out your websites. All the links are in the description below, including a link that gives you 30% off for the next 3 months if you decide to move forward. Remember, it's free for 3 days for you to check them out and benefit from all their great tools. Hey, if you enjoyed this tutorial, please do me a big favor and smash that like button and share this with a friend or a colleague. Also, if you are new to the channel, please hit the subscribe button and remember to also hit the notification bell so that you're notified every time I release a new tutorial, especially if you want to get notified when I release the next tutorial, which is going to be part 2 of building out a local business website. For those of you who are already subscribed, thank you very much for your support. I really, really appreciate it. If you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comment section below, and I will do my best to answer your questions promptly. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.